Check. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling and flare. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so no-go, lost my mind, oh no. It's Ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
One.
Don't worry.
Trying to call. It's not going through. Are you there, Simone?
Yep, I'm here.
It hasn't shown that I've connected yet. Interesting. Bear with me.
No worries.
I wonder if we're on and I just don't know it. That would be interesting. Would be an interesting way to open the show, with dead silence.
Wouldn't we hear anything?
I'm not sure. It usually shows that I'm connected. Interesting. Let me try again, okay? I'm going to disconnect. I'll call you back.
Okay. I am here.
Hi, Simone. I think we're live here on the Antimedia Radio. It's Friday night. Thank you for dealing with my technical issues this evening. Happy February 28th, 2014. You are joined by Levon and Simone. Friday nights on the Antimedia, we try and talk about things other than politics. Simone is a writer and she's a healer. She uses Reiki and other forms of healing to help people. And tonight we want to talk about some of the difficulties that not only arise for the recipients, but as well as the healers themselves. And tonight, Occupy SD had a drive for the homeless, a compassion gift drive. It was amazing, so we'll touch on that. Simone, go ahead and tell the people who may not have heard you before a little bit about yourself, and your background and what you do, and maybe touch a little on the things you're going to talk about this evening.
I am the co-author of the Indigo Child Survival Guide, and I have been a Reiki Master Practitioner for several years now, and I am starting my Reiki Master Teacher training to be able to teach Reiki this week. And I've been using not only my energy healing capacities, but also other ways of intuitive healing in the past, and just recently also started to work with one of my friends who's leading breath circles to help people heal with deep breathing to work through energetic blocks. And what I wanted to talk about today is things that I've talked to about with many healers and have come across with many healers of issues that might occur, and especially people who have not been officially trained as energy healers but are using energy healing as a form, as something that they naturally can do, that just issues that can come up. For example, the issue when you're an empath that you're taking on someone else's problems or issues, that you feel them inside of you and you're not distinguishing it as someone else's, but take it on as your own.
I could see that being a major problem. I've actually want you to talk more about people who are not trained, because I've experienced this, and I'm sure you have as well, we have this natural gift, right? And I feel like discussing it is becoming more of a common occurrence. You know, people are more open in this time in society to talk about things that may make them different, right? We're no longer so concerned with assimilating. It seems like people are more open-minded, and no longer are they judged in a religious manner, because in the past, you know, people were persecuted for even admitting that they had such intuitive gifts. You know, it was seen as dark. People were afraid of which they cannot explain. So I want to, you know, make that evident, is that it's okay if things are occurring to you that you don't understand. And we've touched on this before, you know, is being highly aware. You feel like overwhelmed a lot, and, you know, overcome with things like you mentioned, taking on the problems of others. Before I was aware of how sensitive I was to other people, I did that all the time. And the only way that recently, actually, that I've learned how to manage it is doing like energetic clearings, and, you know, surrounding myself with love. And another thing is asking for protection, you know, but it has to come from a place of love.
Mm-hmm. That is important to do energy clearings, especially after you've, even if you've helped a friend. If you're an empath, I think it's important to energetically clean yourself, and also just, to clear the cords that still might be attached to you after the healing, to just gently release them with kindness and love, to not be draining you in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's energy clearing and energy protection, but also being aware of when you're suddenly feeling something coming on, and you don't know exactly, you don't see an obvious reason why you're feeling a certain way at a certain time. To just ask yourself within, is this mine? And intuitively the answer will come yes or no. If it's no, what I do is I gently visualize to wrap this emotion or whatever thought that's coming up into a light bubble, healing light bubble, and return to sender.
That's awesome. And what would be the best way that you would recommend for people who don't have any experience with clearing energy, and clearing cords or having an energy protection? What would you suggest they do?
Well, before, I think it's helpful to remember that when you're doing energy healing, if you don't have any experience, that you're not using your own energy, but you're actually connecting to the universal life force energy that's all around you. Some may call it divine energy, love energy, whatever. And so being aware that it's not your own, so you're making a conscious connection with that energy to kind of attune yourself, your inner channels, to that, knowing that you're not using your own energy. I like to ground myself and then connect with that divine energy. For me, it's Reiki, and sometimes it's other sources, and then start the healing process. For protection, I personally believe in spirit guides and angels, and I ask them to help me to protect myself. I visualize for protection when I go out a light bubble around me that I charge with the intention of not letting anything negative come through, to protect me against any negativity, and only let light and love come through, light, love, compassion, and kindness. But it's still, that I can still shine out my healing light.
That's beautiful.
So the other thing I wanted to point out for people that see themselves as the healer or light workers is that people feel compelled wanting to help others because they see their suffering, but those people might not be willing to accept the help. So to remember that you cannot drag someone along the path that you know is the right one for them. That you can lead the horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. We can be the lighthouse for them to show them the path. We can be the signpost, but we cannot, drag them along that path, or push them, or pull them, or kick them along the path. So that just to remember that, sometimes, and it's really hard to accept, especially if it's someone that you care a lot about, if they are not willing to accept the healing or to heal themselves.
And I think that's a great segue into our next topic. The importance of loving yourself. And I had an amazing experience today. I met so many people from so many different avenues and points of origin from all over the country, mothers, single people, farmers. And this one lady, the first lady I spoke to, her name was Samantha. And we had a pretty interesting discussion about how did you get here? And, we each talked about how we got to where we were. And we were dealing with the same struggle. It was profound, obviously in different forms, but the same thing. And, she told me that she hasn't been loving herself, and that she realized that she's got to take care of herself. And that's how she got where she is. And I taught her some deep breathing techniques and I taught her how to connect to the source and how to clear negative energy and how to fill herself with love, and she couldn't stop crying. We did that together. We sat and we shared some deep breaths and we shared a good energetic connection, and she told me that for her that was one of the best things that's happened to her. She's like, I've been waiting for a sign. And she's like, thank you so much for taking the time to acknowledge me as a person, you know? So it's amazing when you see that light bulb, no pun intended, go off for someone when they realize, like, I am a powerful person, you know?
Yeah. I think the deepest experience that I've ever had as a healer is working as a hospice volunteer and working with the dying. And when you're working with someone who knows that they're dying, you're also aware of your own fear of death. So that it brings a new level of healing. It's not making someone be all well, but having peace before their death, so to say. And a lot of times those people that are dying are dealing with depression because they don't see, you know, they are full of regrets, or they just don't, you know, they know there's not much joy left for them. So finding, sometimes, you know, I was giving them Reiki, and other times I would just start talking with them about their life, about things that brought them joy in their lifetime. And it was so amazing how just finding, you know, just looking around the room, I tried to pick up things that I thought were meaningful to them, and then starting a conversation and how they started lighting up. With, and you know, bringing smiles on their faces, and sometimes just thanking me for presence. So, you know, just talking about the energy and not feeling a full person and being in different stages of life. So also it taught me a lot about letting go of expectations as a healer, and also of letting go of judgment of people and where they are at. Just like you said, you know, like this woman felt she was not feeling complete within herself, or not feeling accepted. And you find that in so many different environments, you know, and you learn as a healer. Just, I think if anyone is out there who is interested in healing, becoming a healer, doing any form of volunteer work will teach you the best lessons.
Oh, definitely. I agree. It was a profound experience. There were so many people. You know, at first we thought that the rain would deter the people, but, you know, like a beacon, like you spoke about being a lighthouse, a signpost, these people found their way there one way or another, and they got a lot of things they needed. And a group of people that really touched me, you know, not only energetically, but I was telling Nick, you know, that they're pulling on my heartstrings. This couple, you know, they were amazing. The wife has a hearing problem, but she was an amazing lip reader. I couldn't even tell. Like, I thought he was using sign language. But the point is this, is they're brilliant people. They have skills and trades. It's just they're in a hard situation, and they have a child, and they're looking towards, you know, their dreams, and they want to be, they're entrepreneurs, and they believe in energy healing, and we were kind of drawn to each other, you know, like magnets. So I eventually made my way over, And, I said, hi, my name's Lavon. Do you mind if I sit with you? And they were like, we've been waiting for you to come over here. They're like, you have great energy. That was like the first thing that we discussed. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. Tell me, what do you sense, And, basically we got on the topic of healing. They told me that they felt like I was grounded, and that I gave them a sense of peace, and that they wanted to tell me, they wanted to open up to me, you know what I mean? And they're like, you have comfort in your eyes, and I thank you for just sitting with us. And I've never been in that situation before where people perceive me in the manner in which I'd perceive myself. And I think I've had a breakthrough, Simone, and I've finally accepted that this is my calling, It's what I'm supposed to do. And I was telling you earlier about all the confirmation. And I didn't have that before because I didn't believe it entirely. And I think that's important about wanting to be a healer and not quite being there is you can't share what you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. You have to really completely believe, and then also I think the first step is being able to look within and finding that those wounds within and healing those first. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of clearing work in the last few years, I think, and it's been tough, but I think it's part of a healer also to work with your own shadows. We're not, anyone who claims he's just light and whatever. I think we need to balance, Mm-hmm. We all have our wounds and dark sides that that come to surface at times, and we just take care of them ourselves, or if we need help, we ask for help too.
Exactly. And that's been my greatest lesson is, to ask for help, because there are people out there who love you and want to help you be the best you can, regardless if you're aware of it or not. And I think that's kind of what we reaffirmed tonight with this, little gathering of love. We gave those people a sense of hope, if you will, that, there are people out there who care about them.
One of the things is also, that I've come across, that people may send healing to someone who may not be open to it. So what I learned in my Reiki practice and also exploring other energy healing practices is always to ask for permission to send healing, because it's just a proper, I want to say, code of ethics. If you can't ask the person themselves directly, mm-hmm. you can ask the higher self. I also feel that if the healing is not received, then maybe, or the healing might happen in ways that we are not expecting it for the person to show up. Mm-hmm. For example, if you expect the person to get better, but they're actually getting worse, then this ego thing comes up. I have experienced that within myself, that you feel like, well, why is this person getting worse if I want them to feel better? Mm-hmm. But it might be actually a healing crisis to clear out what needs to be cleared out before things get better. To mm-hmm. remember that things are manifesting in the highest good with a healing sometimes, for the person to go through the path that they need to go.
I think that's a great point that you bring up, and I experience that a lot. Working in a holistic healing environment, and if people don't want to get better, regardless of what we do, regardless of how many times we've dealt with that same ailment, and we follow a certain protocol and it works for, 90% of the people, there's always going to be that person who is inhibiting the healing. And, how do you tell them that there are times, that we do that for people in the gentlest way possible. We try and make them aware of the fact that the body only does what the mind tells it.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you telling yourself? And this is a topic of conversation that I shared with this great woman I met this evening. She was telling me that we're all crystals, that, the water molecules inside of us form different patterns based on energy. And I was like, yes, I've seen, there's science that shows us this now is, we're mostly composed of water. And those water molecules do beautiful things when exposed to positivity and love. And she says, that regardless of her situation, she's homeless with a 2-year-old. That's a pretty bleak situation. But she was the most beautiful, lovely, inspiring, bright, vibrant person that I have met in such a long time. We shared a connection that was so profound. She couldn't hear my words, but she told me she could feel them. And
that's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Like, we talked for 2 hours. We couldn't stop talking. And she told me, she's like, the world to me is different. I don't hear, I see. And she sees in color. She says she sees vibrant colors. And she hasn't agreed to tell me what color yet, but she said that there are many colors that she saw from me. And she gave me a message, and she's like, Lavon, I want you to know that you are doing the right thing. And she's like,
a message for you.
she's like, you haven't been believing in yourself. She's like, why do you doubt yourself? She's like, you are supposed to do this. You need to do this. And I was just like, wow. I was like, thank you, universe. I appreciate
Can it be any clearer?
Right? I get it. Okay. It smacked me in the face with it. Okay. I accept this. But it was just awesome to have such a beautiful experience with another person who communicates in a different way that you do, but still the same way. And, regardless of her situation, we talked about how she feels free because she doesn't have to abide by certain restrictions imposed on her from society.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that, she doesn't meet very many real people, that she feels like they have this robotic interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to have good energetic experiences.
In my experience, it's a lot of times we're coming across people that are our teachers that are passing on messages that we need to hear within ourselves if we don't trust our mind telling us what we need to do. And so those messages can come in different ways. Like sometimes they come to me through the radio, and it's kind of funny.
Like a song
replaying.
Yeah,
like song lyrics that just stick out, or sometimes it's just a reflection of what you're thinking. And it can make you laugh, or, just no, it's a confirmation of, okay, I think there's something about it. And especially if it comes from another person, to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're also gravitating more to people
in
that
which
we resonate
with symbolic or symbiotic relationships.
Or synchronistic.
Yeah, I've noticed more and more that I'm attracting the people to me whom are exactly who I need. Do you want to hear something beautiful about today? The list is infinite, Simone. Mm-hmm. All the beautiful things that happened today. So not only am I talking to you, which is always nice, but I've been trying to get in touch with this man that I know who has an interest in growing non-GMO food. And he knows that I'm all about non-GMOs and, rally against Monsanto, and just trying to share awareness on the importance of nutrition and the connection to mind, body, spirit, the whole thing. It's all encompassing for me. And we have been trying to connect for like a year. And finally today he calls me and he says, Lavon, you or anybody else associated with you can use my land to grow food. And he says, let's get together next weekend and see what we can do. So that's very exciting. And then today I met several people who have the ability to garden and want to help.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the connector between those two then.
Mm-hmm. And it gets even more intricate. Friday next week, the day before I'm supposed to go meet the tire hippie guy. That's his name. Really. We have a meeting with the March Against Monsanto coalition that we formed here. So it's just boom, 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 falling into place beautifully. And I want to share with people that if you set your intentions and you focus and you are open to receiving, you really do get what you wish for. You really do.
And also what you described too, and what I've seen also with other people, that the right path is the path with the least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're describing is like what you described as things falling into place is that those are the signs that you are on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that.
It's almost like you're being guided. You have to be able to listen, though.
And sometimes you have to fall down a couple of times, and you might not notice that there's a lot of resistance in the path that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And then life sometimes knocks you down to take a step back and reevaluate.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. I shared that message with the first lady I spoke with tonight, is she was telling me about, how these bad things keep happening to her. And I said, bad things happen to me too, but I realized that they happen to me because I'm supposed to learn a particular lesson. And I figured this out because the same exact situation, literally a loop, happens to me over and over again. Same situation, different scenarios, until I go, oh, is that what's going on here? This one thing, and then poof, it's gone. And I shared with her that exactly in every experience there's an opportunity to learn. You've got to take what you can. You got to process it and then leave it.
I think I have two stories of mine. The first time I had some major surgery a few years ago, and at that time I was already into mindfulness meditation, but I was still very impatient in a lot of things. That surgery forced me to be patient. I had to patiently wait for test results. I had to patiently wait until I had the surgery. After the surgery, being a patient taught me to be patient with myself and my healing process. So it really taught me to be mindful with myself, within my body, with my thoughts, and how, my own healing is, how I perceive my healing process is impacting my happiness, or also my, I can influence my healing process by how I think about it. And then the second time, I had a freak accident breaking my leg, and I lay flat for 5 months, and that was, my daughter was just 2 years old.
Oh my gosh.
She was she was about to start walking, but as soon as I was down, she stopped walking.
Oh.
Okay? And my husband had to take care of me and my kid for a while, and we had people come over and help. So I had to, for me, it was a sign that I had to slow down, and I did have to slow down. And I was lying in bed and I was thinking, okay, what could I do? I got a computer, I got a laptop, I started to connect with people. That's the time when I wrote the Indigo Child Survival Guide. I started my own blog and just started really my own healing path, and connections that I've made during that time were just still very meaningful, and the growth that I've experienced, and it also has changed my family dynamics in a good way. So even though it was very painful and it was very stressful, the whole process of, having a broken leg, and overall looking back, it was a change, like the change happened during the time that probably wouldn't have happened any other way, because I was home, I had nothing better to do. I could dedicate my time and efforts into things that my life purpose that has become my life purpose now. So just, sometimes looking back, experiencing pain can lead to the change that we need. And I always come back to that image, and I'm coming across that a lot recently about the caterpillar in the cocoon before it becomes...
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. More confirmation. Can I tell you the freaky part? So
Sure.
I've been telling everybody this is how I feel. I actually wrote this in my journal the other day. I feel like I am in a chrysalis and it's opened, right? I can peek out. I feel as if I'm sitting in this tree and there's a lot of wind, but I can feel the sun, and it feels so warm. And, I wanna emerge from this chrysalis, and I wanna go fly. I'm longing to do it, but I'm not quite ready. That is precisely how I feel.
You're ready when you're ready.
But I'm telling you, I can feel the sun, and I am emerging.
I think there's a lot of people, in similar spaces you are, and even I have had similar, a lot of experiences. I mean, I still have a full-time day job and not living my life purpose every day. I do it outside of work and aside from family. So I'm just trying to merge that all together. So we're all, I think, at that emerging state, and other people are confirming that in a way that we're ready.
I'm so
ready to fly.
Girlfriend, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. But it's a beautiful thing what can happen when you realize how awesome you are. I like to spread that.
Believe in yourself and your self-worth, and to know that you yourself have the power to heal yourself. You're empowered to also help others.
Definitely.
To see the light. One thing I also wanted to point out is that what I do not like to see in people that consider themselves indigos or light workers or healers, we are not superior to anyone. And I've seen that, unfortunately, in some people, that they act as if they're better because they feel consciously more awakened than some other people, and that they feel they're out of place. But the reason why they are in place is to help others to move through their own transition in their own time. Mm-hmm. But they need to meet them. What some people don't understand as a healer or light worker or whatever you are, you cannot push and kick them forward. You need to go at the person's pace of how quickly they are willing to come to a different level of awareness. Mm-hmm. we're not superior. We're all one. We're all the same. And I want to let go of judgment. Like what you did today, I think was amazing. To just accept the people for who they are and having those amazing experiences with them.
Are you kidding? For me, I felt honored that they would want to share such personal things with me, and I felt honored that they perceive me as a person. I feel like we all judge each other way too much. I get judged a lot. I've spoken about how it irritates me, how I'm not viewed as an intellectual, when clearly that's what I am. Come on, people, get it together. But that's, it was just love, except for the one creepy guy who kept kissing my forehead. But you know what? I figured he hasn't had a pretty girl talk to him in a really long time, and we shared some cool music vibes on YouTube, so that was awesome. He hadn't heard music in such a long time. So I was like, tell me your favorite song. Tell me what it is. I'm going to look it up right now on YouTube. And he's like, what? What do you mean? I pull out this, this phone from my pocket, and I was like, okay, prepare to have your freak freaked. I'm going to play you your favorite song. And I'm trying to find it on my phone so I can tell you guys what it was. But he loved it. You know what I mean? He was so thankful to hear that song.
It's just those little things that can bring someone who is desperate joy. Again, I had a similar experience with the residents at the hospice. But also, when I go to town and I see homeless people begging, a lot of times now, especially in the winter season, rather than giving them money, which I don't know what they're doing with the money, I offer them to either buy them a meal or a hot drink. Usually they sit close to a cafe that I'm going into, and a lot of times I bought them like a hot apple cider, a tea, or a coffee, and they're so thankful to just have someone thinking of them.
Yes,
Right before Christmas, there was a homeless person standing by the side of the street when I was driving down the street, and I saw a person get out of their car with a bag full of groceries and giving that homeless person a bag full of groceries. And that is amazing. They were asking for money or some kind of help, and this person got out of their car and just gave them a bag full of groceries.
And I've realized that through compassion, I've received the most beautiful exchange. Like today, the only way that I think there's truly is to receive, is to give. And whatever kind of, for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. When I learned that in like middle school, I was like, there's a secret to life. I got this now. It's true. Though
that you can get in there. People like
I'm not.
But just also showing gratitude is such an amazing gift. Giving back.
Yes, I'm talking about having nice, genuine interactions. I'm encouraging people to talk to other people and share something meaningful other than the robotic, mundane script that we all seem to have memorized. Hello, how are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? How was your day? My day was fine. Look at the weather. Oh, yeah, the weather. And then what is that? Who made that up? I like to talk about real stuff. I approach people and I'm like, ooh, you look interesting. Tell me about, yeah. I go right past the small talk. I like to make people slightly uncomfortable, but I come from such a loving place. I'm openly weird. I love it. But I feel like if people are slightly uncomfortable, there's a chance for a different perspective. I like to try and plant seeds of awesome wherever I go.
I think I always try to test out how, open people are for, new conversations or new aspects. And then from there, I'm originally from Germany, and I just remember that one of my American friends that I had met in Germany told me, and the stereotype, I thought it was a stereotype. Americans tend to be very superficial friendly, and that they're not, when they are friendly, it's not necessarily that they really want to get to know you. So I didn't know what that meant until I remember the first time I went to an American store, and there was this saleswoman there, and she comes up behind me, "Hi, how are you today?" And I turned around and I just thought, wait a second, do I need to know this person? And, and it was like, good. She said, okay, and walks away. And then I remember this conversation I had with my friend, and it's like, okay, this is what you do. You're just very friendly, superficially friendly in the States. But I think it depends from state to state. It's different. And just being aware of that, I think in Germany, when people seem to have more, it seemed like it was quicker to have a more open conversation and not as superficial. I don't know. It was just one of those things that I remember moving, to the States, and I see myself doing that now too. It's almost meaningless when I say, "Hey, how are you today?" Not really wanting to hear how you're really doing today. It's just one of those things you say.
Right. It's like a salutation, but you don't really mean it.
Exactly.
See, I have a problem with that. As a person who loves words, I find myself stumbling for, the words to use, because I feel like people communicate in a whole other way. Like, oftentimes I feel like we don't even speak the same language. It's just, and I think we've talked about this before, is, there seems to be a little disconnection. And I think part of it goes back into the type of people you attract. Those people perhaps are there to remind me that not everyone is on the same path, or not everyone is on the same range of awareness, and that's okay. And, I'm glad you mentioned that tonight, because, none of us are better than the other. I completely agree with you when you say that we're all just other versions of each other. And, the amazing woman I met tonight who was deaf, she told me that. And it's like she was telling me all the things that I tell other people. It was crazy. And I was just like, okay, yes, okay, thank you. Tell me more. So it's just great to see the reciprocation.
I think one thing important to remember is that when we're having conversations, each of us comes with our own program of how to receive certain words. And how we speak, we're talking to a kind of have a different code for their word and language. Uh-huh. Just keep them in mind while you're communicating with them, that they might not understand what you're saying in a way. Looking at people that they have the same language, so that you rest with the because understand the energy of the words in the same frequency, the same code, so to say.
Totally.
Or not so much.
Oh, it totally makes sense.
Basically, saying if talking, if you're it talks about energy healing to my husband, for example, not, he's more like a science math person. I have to change my language of how I'm talking about the subject so that he understands what I'm talking about. He doesn't understand the level of frequency or consciousness. I have to put it into a scientific matter, such as, like this, how human touch can influence the nervous system or things like that. So just being aware of that helps too, to not say, like you're not on the same wavelength with someone, and that's okay. But also keeping in mind when you go to the grocery store, you're not gonna have, a person might not understand you necessarily the same way as you and I, for example, understand what we're talking about.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. I just, my overall purpose is to empower and educate the mass, as many people as possible towards optimal health. And, we talk about a lot of natural methods for healing on the show. And we talk about the innate practices that we can all do to help ourselves become better. And, hopefully that'll have an effect on all the other people that we come in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think everyone is my teacher. Everyone.
I agree.
And I'm so grateful. The first words I shared with you, some experience from Sam, who I met, the first lady I talked to. But the first thing she said to me, I think, was the most important thing, which is why I saved it for last. And I said, Sam, how are you? How are you? My name's Lavon. Can I sit down? And she said, sure, have a seat. And then she's like, I'm grateful because regardless of this weather and regardless of me being outside, I woke up today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a gift, right? Just being aware in the place that you are in. Awesome. What are you gonna do with it, though?
I think it's up to us to keep that attitude and being in a space of, sometimes we're facing the very, very difficult situations. To remember that one thing that one person with chronic pain told me, pain is mandatory, suffering is optional.
Mm-hmm.
To remember that our attitude towards the situation, the outlook, can change how we perceive it and how we deal with it. Again, using the example of the homeless people, that, they are cherishing those wonderful moments that they share with people like you or other volunteers or other experiences, and then there's difficult times too, to just keep going and being positive. Well, doing the best with it.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard, even for me. We talked briefly about how, if you can't share something unless you have that. I believe in that with my entire being. Every cell in me is on that same page. So that has caused me to do even deeper internal investigation than I have ever had before, especially now, as I sit here perpetuating things to other people. I had to validate that. I had to make it okay to be able to do so. And, digging deep within the self, I brought up stuff from, like 15 years ago, something that I remembered that I did to somebody else that caused them pain. And I felt like I was feeling that pain for them. It took me like a couple weeks. I felt like I was mourning the situation, but I felt like a boost of almost like peace after I had that experience. And it's okay sometimes to not be 100%, because sometimes you are emerging onto something better. And sometimes when things are falling apart, they may be falling into place. And I believe that more than ever. I know a lot of people are suffering right now, but things always get better. They always get better. As if you change your perspective, you can alter your world. It's so true. And I hope people tonight realize that they're powerful. If you don't believe it, just crack a smile and feel a little awesome. A little more awesome than you do already.
I think one thing to remember also, and if you are in a difficult situation where you feel you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, to just really look around and see what you do have control over, and then make the best with that. Think about things that you're grateful for right now. What are you grateful for? This is a good reminder of things that are still good in our life.
Definitely. And I wanted to, special message for somebody I love. You shouldn't care so much about what everyone else thinks, because it's none of your business, right? if you love yourself and you realize that you're your own best friend and you are open to having these lessons, it's okay. And just to ponder synonyms. I like to bring this up because we all use words. Have a lot for me, and sometimes people don't exactly mean what they say. So I just had to include that, Simone, for someone really special to me that's going through a hard time. And, they don't see the light at the end.
To the person without knowing the person, whatever that someone else thinks about you is about you, about them. It's up to you not take anything personally that anyone might say about you, to you. Only it's not true unless you believe it to be true, and usually it's not true. It's about the other person. And just remembering that we're often our own worst critic, but we should remember that we can also be our own best friend, because who knows us better than ourselves?
So true. It's so true. Everybody's got something to teach you. Every struggle has a purpose. Move out of your comfort zone and be open to it. Amazing things can happen. So look forward to more stories about the emerging Lavon. And Simone, if you haven't realized, if you're a frequent listener, she is on bi-weekly here with me on the Antimedia Radio. I really enjoy your insight in your company, Simone. I know that it's you're really tired.
The opportunity. And I think we're we're trying to reach the people and being available and inspiring, in our own. But I think we're in a similar path.
Yeah, and speaking of
I want to say almost like a parallel path.
Yeah, we seem to have a lot of synchronicity. And I love you, Simone, and have a beautiful week. Same to you guys. Check us out on Monday with Nick and DB.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.